The thing that fascinated me most as a kid was motors. A completely lifeless object could suddenly start moving just by connecting two wires to a battery. No pushing, no pulling, just invisible force turning electricity into motion. Long before anyone understood electricity, humans had already discovered another invisible force: magnetism. People found strange rocks called lodestones that could attract iron. Even more strangely, when suspended freely, they always pointed north. These natural magnets eventually became compasses, helping ships navigate across oceans long before anyone understood why they worked. For centuries, magnetism and electricity were treated as completely separate phenomena. Magnets could attract iron. Electricity came from static shocks and early chemical batteries. There seemed to be no connection between them. Then, in 1820, Danish scientist Hans Christian Oersted noticed something extraordinary. A compass needle near a wire suddenly moved when electric current flowed through the wire. That tiny movement changed history. For the first time, humanity discovered that electricity and magnetism are somehow related. A wire carrying electric current generates an invisible magnetic field around itself. And once that connection was discovered, progress accelerated rapidly. A single straight wire produced only a weak magnetic field, so people began experimenting with different shapes. When the wire was bent into a loop, the magnetic field became more concentrated. One side of the loop behaved like a north pole, while the other behaved like a south pole. Then came an even bigger improvement. Instead of using one loop, the wire could be wrapped into many loops, forming a coil. Each loop reinforced the magnetic field of the next, concentrating the field through the center of the coil and creating a much stronger magnet. This became known as a solenoid, but the real breakthrough happened when iron was placed inside the coil. Iron responds extremely well to magnetic fields. The magnetic field produced by the coil forces many tiny magnetic regions inside the iron, called magnetic domains, to align in the same direction, dramatically strengthening the overall magnetic field. The iron itself temporarily becomes a magnet. This is similar to how we can magnetize a piece of iron by stroking it with a permanent magnet. In both cases, an external magnetic field forces many of the magnetic domains inside the iron to align together. But now, with electricity, humans could create powerful magnets whenever they wanted simply by turning electric current on and off. This was the birth of the electromagnet. Unlike a permanent magnet, the magnetic poles of an electromagnet can also be reversed instantly just by reversing the direction of the current flowing through the coil. And once controlled magnetism became possible, controlled motion followed. When a current-carrying coil is placed inside another magnetic field, the two magnetic fields interact. One side of the coil experiences a force in one direction, while the opposite side experiences a force in the opposite direction. Because these forces act on opposite sides of the coil, they create rotation. This was the foundation of the electric motor, but early motors had a problem. The coil would rotate only halfway before stopping. Once the magnetic poles aligned, the torque disappeared and the rotor locked into position. To keep the motor spinning, the direction of the current had to reverse every half turn. That way, the magnetic poles of the coil would also reverse, continuously pulling and pushing the rotor forward instead of letting it settle into alignment. This is the job of the commutator. The commutator is a rotating electrical switch that automatically reverses the current direction as the motor spins. Without it, the motor would simply twitch and stop. With it, electrical energy could finally be converted into continuous rotational motion. And that is the foundation of the DC motor. Inside this small toy motor, we can see the entire system working together. At the center is the rotor with coils of copper wire wrapped around an iron core. Connected to the rotor are copper segments called the commutator. Pressing against these segments are two stationary metal contacts called brushes, which deliver electricity from the battery into the spinning rotor. As current flows through the winding, the copper coil wrapped around this rotor tooth turns it into an electromagnet. The current flows in through one commutator segment, around the winding, and back out through the opposite brush. This creates a magnetic field around the rotor tooth, effectively making this side a north pole. Current also flows through the other windings connected to the rotor, but because those paths pass through more wire, Their resistance is higher and the current is weaker. If we trace the direction of current through those windings, the magnetic fields they produce combine to form south poles on the other side of the rotor. And because all the windings share the same iron core, the magnetic field lines flow through the entire rotor structure, linking the north and south poles together into a complete magnetic circuit. Around the rotor are permanent magnets creating another magnetic field. The fields interact immediately. One side of the rotor is pushed away while the opposite side is pulled forward, producing torque that spins the rotor. As the rotor turns, the commutator rotates with it. Right when the rotor reaches the point where it would normally stop, the commutator switches connection to the opposite segment, reversing the direction of current flowing through the coil. That reversal flips the magnetic poles of the rotor itself. So instead of stopping, the magnetic forces continue pushing the rotor forward. This process repeats continuously. Electricity flows into the coil becomes an electromagnet, magnetic forces generate rotation, and the commutator reverses the current at exactly the right moment to keep the motor spinning. Isn't it amazing to see visualizations like this and finally grasp the nature of forces we can never see directly? Brilliant's new tutor works in a very similar way. It's an interactive tutor that works with you directly, drawing diagrams, asking questions, and adapting to how you think as you solve problems. What I like about Brilliant is that it focuses on building intuition rather than memorization. The lessons are interactive and feel more like solving puzzles than studying. Whether you're learning math, programming, or logical reasoning, it helps you understand why things work, not just what the answer is. The curriculum covers everything from basic concepts all the way to advanced topics, and because it's available whenever you need it, you can learn at your own pace without scheduling classes or tutoring sessions. If you've ever watched one of my videos and wanted to go deeper into science, engineering, and mathematics, click the link below or scan the QR code to try Brilliant's tutor for free. You can upgrade to Premium to unlock all courses, and right now Quasar-Ed viewers can save 20% on an annual subscription at brilliant.org/Quasar-Ed. From tiny toy motors to massive industrial machines, they all operate on the same fundamental principle discovered over 200 years ago. Electricity creates magnetism, and magnetism creates motion. But the simple brush DC motor is only the beginning. As engineers improved these machines, entirely new types of motors emerged. Induction motors that spin without brushes. Synchronous motors that lock perfectly to rotating magnetic fields. Universal motors capable of running on both AC and DC. Stepper motors that move with precise digital control. Brushless motors that power modern drones and electric vehicles. Each one solving different engineering problems, yet all built on the same invisible electromagnetic principles. And those same principles would eventually give rise to generators, transformers, radio, computers, wireless communication, and much of the modern world itself. It all began with a tiny compass needle moving beside a wire. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.